The mask is off, everyone. As the COVID-19 crisis continues to spread all across this country, a poll now shows that nearly 60% in the U.S. believe the political system is designed solely to serve the rich and powerful. Well, it's about time. Oh my God, we're all getting together. Finally, we're agreeing on the same thing. So a new polling out Wednesday, backdrop by the continuing coronavirus outbreak, shows that most of the country believes that the U.S. political system only works for the wealthy and the elite rather than the working people. Hey, you should have been tuning in to Heartland's Media when we first got started. We've been talking about this on the radio. We've been talking about this on public television, and even in the early days when we first got onto YouTube, we've been saying the same thing over and over again. The top 1% control everything. So diehard Republican voters and diehard Democratic voters, I hate to break it to you, but the people that you're so proud of in Washington, D.C., they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anybody. They only care about serving their top one constituents, and that is major banks, major corporations, and Wall Street executives. They don't work for the working class people. They don't care about the average working American. They only worry about basically lining out their pockets. So this poll surveyed 1,200 Americans. It was taken by the Hill and Harris X. 57% respondents said that they believe that the political system serves the interests of the wealthy and powerful versus 32% who said it works for all Americans. In what world are you living in? Did you not see that bailout that the banks got today? I mean, come on.
They live in a world where those bailouts actually, might benefit them, or they don't feel the impact of it.
Yeah.
So that would be my assumption. Well, I'll let you keep going, Kip. I'll share some other stuff I found.
So low-income Americans were more likely than people who are well off financially to say the system works for wealthy insiders, 61% to 55%. Women were 12% more likely than men, and Democratic and independent voters are more likely than Republicans to say that the U.S. government is designed to serve the elites. I will have to say this. I think if there were more people surveyed, I think a lot more Republicans and a lot more men would also say the same thing too. Like the system works for the top 1%. And the reason why, well, let's look at this recent slush fund, this $4.5 trillion slush fund for powerful corporations were given, while all providing a one-time payment of $1,200 to working class citizens. So great. Corporations are going to get that big slush fund, big relief package, while we're just going to get the measly crumbs of $1,200. Wow, that's wonderful. Wow. That's not going to stop everyone. That's not going to stop corporations or businesses from continuing to making the same mistakes they made before. And this is just how sick the system is. But Kira, you have a follow-up. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was reading those statistics and I saw the 32% believe that the system is working just fine, works for everybody, I had the same reaction as you, Kit, where I was like, what 32% of people are saying this? And so I went and I looked up the annual income of Americans, what percentage it breaks down to. And in my estimate as a household, I was like, well, any household making under $75,000 a year. And I think that's fairly generous in the world of like what the people on high say, like that the peons should be making. But I think $75,000 for a household is still tough. Really, really, really tough. You think a household is definitely more than one person, right? But, think the average family of four living on $75,000 in your average mid-sized town, they're having a hard time. So I looked at the statistics on that, and it was kind of interesting because on Statista.com, in 2018, they show that 57% of households made under $75,000 a year. So wow. It's just interesting that 57% said they believe that the system is serving the wealthy. And then based on these statistics, 57% of people are making of households, not people, of households are making less than $75,000 a year.
And again,
there's a correlation.
Yeah, and again, $75,000 also completely varies based on where you live. If you're in Kansas or Oklahoma, that's a lot of money. It's a big. You can buy a house in Kansas or Oklahoma that's enormous for like $150,000. Try getting a condo that's more than a bathtub in New York for $150,000. Try living in New York for a household that's like nothing. Like you can't even exist on that amount of money in New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco.
And you want to that these people who make around this amount of money are the people that are screwed the hardest, right? These are the people who are paying into taxes and also not making enough to actually reap the benefits of what the government gives in the way of relief. So yeah, so that's why I estimated that anybody making as a household under $75,000 a year is probably struggling. Another piece of that is taxes, right? This is income based on before taxes are taken out as well. So like we want to get that, like Kit, you said, oh, finally everybody's catching up. I don't know that everybody's catching up. I just think that the people that are really hurting are the people who are realizing that this system is not set up for them. And that 32%, I can't imagine the system is working for 32% of us, but the sample size was like just over 1,000 people. I agree, Kit, that if the sample size had been bigger, I assert that more Republicans would have said it's not working and only working for the wealthy, and far less than 32%. But that's that's speculation.
But here's the even more important thing that we have to remember, that this has taken. We're hitting this point where we're about to hit this major depression. This poll happens now when people are like, oh, I just have to stay inside. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm okay for now. I want this same survey to ask the same question in 2 months.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger takeaway, is already 2/3 of the population is like, the system isn't working for me. And I think it sort of stands to reason that more men and more Republicans would say, no, it works for everyone, because that's part of Republican ideology, right? That's supply side sort of, the job creators kind of rhetoric. And that makes sense to me, that Republicans would more than the rest of the general populace feel that way. One of the things that I'm always thinking of is actually a pretty old study. It's almost a 10-year-old study now that showed that graph that is like what people think wealth and income inequality should be, right? People understand that there's going to be some inequality. And what they think it should be is actually further away from what it is than what economists say it should be. Like what people think it is.
Yeah.
Right?
At some point,
it's so much worse than people think it is. It's and what they think it should be is so far away from what even they think it is.
So like that's one thing, is I know the exact graph you're talking about. And Jerome, when we start up that Chicago Corner channel, we need to do field pieces, and we need to ask. That's one of the things I want to ask people. You just pull up, hey, how well do you think that everything's distributed? I think another part of this, on top of all this, is we just covered a story. Well, we kind of were laughing about it as a kind of a sub-story zero a couple days ago, about how 500,000 millionaires are just no longer millionaires, just like that, because of their stocks dropping. And it's, again, we're not even, going back to that dinner analogy, guys, don't worry. We are no longer at the bar getting drinks, waiting for the table. We have now just been seated, and we are now looking at the menus.
And here's the thing too, like, again, today, the market fell again. All that magical, mystical money that was supposed to be helping out these corporations to get everything back to normal disappeared again. And look, we're due for another day of the stock markets falling down again and again and again. And the sad fact is that we're the ones that are going to feel the losses. The corporations, the big banks, the Wall Street executives, they're going to get away with this. They're not going to feel the loss. We are. And as soon as more and more people realize that we have a system that was never designed for the average worker, I think more people are going to start becoming more vocal, and there's going to be aggressive pushback, because we have a political class, both within the DNC and the RNC, that are ill prepared for this kind of crisis. They only know how to cater to the top 1% when everything is normal, when everything looks normal and correct to them. Well, that normal was a fancy illusion, and now it's gone now. It's never going to come back. And when this crisis passes, when we enter into this Great Depression, and I hate saying it because a lot of people are going to get hurt by it, but when we enter into this Great Depression, it will be a brand new world, and we can never go back to what led us into this crisis in the first place.